Hello and welcome. I am Dr. Anil Joshi. Welcome you to my series Iconology and Temple Architecture Perspectives. In the context, we are seeing how the temple were developed, evolved, how they came into existence from cave cut to standalone and then ornated. In earlier part 1, we have also studied how the iconology, how the idols were developed, how the god images came into existence with extensive evidence right from Indus Valley onward in a part 1. So here we will not discuss it. We'll straight go to the temple architecture and temple architecture developments and stages of developments. Now in the context, we are going to study today different developmental stages. Now there are hardly any remains of the temples earlier than Gupta period. Why? Because they have used wood or perishable material like clay, mud for developing a temple. Obviously they did not last. But ever since they have started cave cut, we have started getting the evidence of the temple. So that usually corresponds with the Gupta period or 5th century, that is 5th CE, common era, 5th century of the common era. Now there are probably earlier structural based timber structures. Now how we know? It is because of the inscriptions and some of the rough, I will not call this as exact drawings or paintings, they were just some marks made on the stone. From that we can make out how the structure was there earlier. Now the rock cut temples were developed because of patronage. Either the king has donated, sometime common man has donated, or sometime many businessmen have also donated. We have seen it in Hoysala temple. So we had a sponsorship with a lot of people who has developed this, and the inscriptions and names are written. We know them, that they were the people who were mainly responsible for development of this temple. The earlier preserved Hindu temples are simple, cell-like, made by the stones. The stones were interlocked. Now this interlocking technology later on was called as Hemadpanthi. Hemadpanthi are the technique of interlocking stones with their size and their shapes. They were making shape in such a way they are getting interlocked. The wall was not falling. They were just holding each other. Each and every block was holding other block, and they were becoming a homogeneous structure. That was around 10th to 12th century onward. But we are seeing temples earlier that also which had a different type of construction technique, which you are going to see in this lecture series subsequently. By 6th or 7th century, they evolved a shikhara stones. So shikhara in North India or Vimana in South India. Either way, whichever the temple is, this is called, and that also was heavy. So they had good structural knowledge about shikhara's weight, and they could construct the base, that is sanctum, in such a way that shikhara was balanced. Additionally, they have developed gopuram also. Now this was practically came to our knowledge because of the inscription written by Gangadhara in 424. So that gave us an idea about all these things, how what was the material used, how the temples were survived, which temples were at that time, and which temple has ruined. Now, by 7th century, most main feature of the Hindu temple were established along with guidelines on the temple architecture and building methods, building material, selection of rock, selection of place, and the combination of structural plus the designing portion which will suit a deity. Now between 7th and 13th centuries, large number of temples were constructed, built. Many of them have partially ruined or completely ruined, but those which were partially ruined can tell us what was their glory when they were existing. So this is another example that from ruins we can imagine what was a gigantic structure. Many regional styles were developed in that region, like Nagara, Dravidian, then Rekha Nagara, all then Chalukyan, what you can call as the Visera style. So all these things were developed by combining multiple styles by keeping a basic principle same, and they were constructed according to the patronage they had, the king who was sponsoring them. The Visera style originated in the region between Krishna and Tungabhadra. We call them also Chalukyan style because they were the main people who were behind development of this technique. We'll see the images and we'll get more convinced how it was. The shrine building often includes a circumambulatory passage or a parikrama. That was a further development. Now, first was structural, standalone, sanctum. Then there was addition of an antrum, that is the annexure. Then was different type of mandapas, ending with a mukha mandapas. So these were the multiple mandapa, mukha mandapa, sabha mandapa, nritya mandapa were added to the temple. So that's how the temple architecture developed. Now, Antarala is a chamber I told you between sanctum and the different type of mandapas. So that was mainly from here. The other than priest, the other people can worship from antrum. Addition to other small temples in the compound, there may be additional mandapas also building that are either connected to the temple or they were separate. So either way they were okay. There are both types we can see. Certain mandapas are connected, certain are not connected. The temple building reached its maturity when we see circumambulatory paths, when we see sabha mandapas, when we see nritya mandapas, all that thing when we see in a single temple, we say it has fairly advanced in the temple architecture. And that happened around 12th century. Hundreds of temples were built across the Deccan, and more than half of them are present in Karnataka, and they are well preserved as compared to the North Indian temples. Apart from temple, they are also well known for ornation and staple wells, Pushkarni. As we have seen, Hulikeri, that was a well constructed by Hoysala queen, had all the Rashi Chakra and Nakshatra Chakras along the side of the wall of the water reservoir, so that when you are inside the water reservoir, you can feel looking up as though you are seeing a full universe. Now, apart from ornated, that is the Pushkarnis, they served as a ritual bathing and also a water reservoir, and they were also preserved in Lakundis. Their stepped wall designs were later incorporated in the Hoysalas and Vijayanagara Empire in the coming centuries. I can show you the wells. It is in part 1 how the wells were, what was the geometry, designing, architecture and beauties. You can see all in that part 1 in Pushkarni. The part 1, there is a separate section on Pushkarnis. In the north, Muslim invaders from the 11th century onward reduced the building temples and saw the losses of, and they saw to that many will be demolished partially or completely. The south also witnessed Hindu-Muslim conflict, but that did not affect it to the significant extent, or it may have been revived after it was destroyed. The latter 14th century, the Hindu Vijayanagara Empire came to power and controlled much of the South India during the period. A distinctive, very tall gopuram, that is gate houses, actually a later developmental structure in temple architecture, but it gained the importance because of its huge size, and often it was larger than the main temple. And by 12th century onward, there was typically addition of all these things, the gopuram also, as well as sometime additional sabha mandapas, or sometime there were community kitchens also, the places for people to rest also, and all these things were around the temple premises, so that if anybody comes to see or worship deity, there should not be any problem. Water was there, food was there, place for stay was also there. And subsequently, when they find that they want to make a large structures to reduce the weight, they started using bricks, and that we saw for the first time in Vijayanagara. The Gopuram was with the bricks, but also you see that they are falling nowadays. They are not that durable. Making of the temple, how the temple is made. The chief architecture was called Sutradhara. He is a person who lays a design. If you want to see a typical design laid by the Sutradhara, you can visit the Mahadeva, Bhojeshwar Mahadeva temple. Outside the temple on the rock, there is elaborated designs carved. And that sculpture was also called as a Shilpin. Then there was Pramukha Chitrakara. What was his role? The Pramukha Chitrakara was drawing the paintings and showing the sculpture, and sometime a painter how it is to be made. There are paintings made at that time which you can see at either Ajanta, Ellora, or also in Vijayanagar, which were there for so many years. So this is the skill of this Pramukha Chitrakara. Then construction superintendent, he has to supervise and keep the accounts, and the best of it is seen in many temples where Khajuraho, we can see that all accounts are kept, how many workers were there, how they were spending, and also you can see this in Badami. The language is different. They were marking tall line, small line, which was indicating the total number of workers working and their salary. So that was name of, that is the work of superintendent. Then there were also types of temple, maybe Nagara style of architecture, maybe Dravidian style, maybe mixture of these, or maybe combination of different. There is a separate video devoted to the types of the temple, how many types were there and how they were developed. Now the temple has to be on a foundation. Most of the time we see there is a firm foundation on the stone, the temple which has survived. So that is called Adhisthana. Adhisthana is a natural base for the temple on which there is Jagati. Jagati is a platform. Now larger Jagatis actually started from North India. The earlier Dravidian temple had small Jagati. But later on, if you see, the later Dravidian temple also had tall Jagatis. So that development you can see all in Karnataka around Aiholi and also Hoysala. There you will get this. Now look at this Jagati. It's a tall Jagati. Now there are shapes of Jagati also. Hoysala had a star shape. Certain people had just raised, but different shapes were there. On that you can take circumambulatory or pradakshina patha, and they were a basic for the temple foundation. Here you can appreciate it. Now the entrance of every temple was decorated. Most of the South Indian temple had lion eating something that is called as Kirti Mukha lion. There is a story, the lion is actually eating himself. But that story we'll tell sometime else because it will end the story and not a topic of this picture. So this is in many South Indian temple. So I'll show you a lot of toranas. Look at the simple torana on the left side. This is a North Indian temple. This is a glory of Torana. This temple is Ballur, and what you can see around the entrance are the carved features. You can see Garuda because of the little wings, and that indicate there are Vishnu avatars carved on that. Now after the Toranas, we have shown you different type. There is a Garbhagriha. We are now in the temple. Garbhagriha is also called Sanctum Sanctorum. It can be just a single hall like we are seeing in first up. This is a sanctum, just a temple with sanctum. This is a temple with sanctum. This is a temple sanctum and an additional thing which we are going to see further. Here, From Mandapam, you are going into the Garbhagriha. Though there is no deity here, lot of them are destroyed, that's why they are removed, but that will be a Garbhagriha otherwise. Different temple. Now I'll show you a temple with deity after this. Usually either Shivalinga will be there or statue of Vishnu. This is a giant statue, more than 28 feet in height. This is Kondaji temple near Haibiddu. The temple is named after the old lady who has donated this, and this is another giant lingam which is more than around 30 feet. That is the Mahadeva temple, Bhojeshwar Mahadeva temple near Bhopal. It is one of the largest Shivalinga. Next probably to is the Shivalinga at Hampi, and that is called as the Badao Linga. We'll see that also. So this is a Bhojeshwar. Now here we are seeing the sanctums. Now if we see Nandi, the sanctum has to be Lord Shiva. These are, now there can be one sanctum or there can be two sanctum. This is called Dvikuta. Dvikuta is, are there two sanctum, or there can be three, that is called Trikuta. Look at this, here there will be three, two on either side and one will be behind. This is Bedwadi temple. Then additionally there can be parikramas, that is the circumambulatory path. Now that can be enclosed or it can be open air. Here it is enclosed. Here, interesting part of this temple is the Aihoi temple, Durga Mata or Durga temple, Aihoi. It has got three circumambulatory paths. This is only temple which I have seen which has got three. Many has got two, most of them has one, either inside or outside. Look at the map, that will give you a clear idea how there are three circumambulatory paths. Here you can see this was the last one. Two are inside. The circumambulatory paths are usually decorated nicely. Now, as I told you, there are mandapas. Now, how are the mandapas? They can be Sabha mandapas, it can be Ardha mandapa, it can be Mukha mandapa, or it can be Swarga mandapa. Swarga mandapa are very few places which I am going to show you, and also going to tell you why it is called Swarga mandapa. Now this is Sabha mandapam. You can see it where people can gather for social function or they can rest for some time. Look at this. This is schematic drawing to show you Mukha mandapa, then Ardha mandapa and Sabha mandapa. Ardha mandapa was many times a place for rituals. Look at this. Here the Ardha mandapa and Mukha mandapa both are open. Here you can see circumambulatory path also along with the Sabha mandapas. This is Aihori Shiva temple. Both the temples near each other, they are showing you circumambulatory paths. There are different videos extensively covering these two temples. Look at this Sabha mandapam. As the name implies, could be for Sabha, that is meetings, so also it can be for ritual functions. Look at this. People can come here, they can take rest for some time, and there will be a place for sitting, that is Sukhasana, is a place kept outside the temple for taking rest. This is the open air Sabha mandapam. Different temple you will find it in different ways. This is Latkhan temple. The interesting part of Latkhan temple is it is like a village council hall. It looks like it is, you look at it, it looks like a design taken from the wooden. Now inside you will find Nandi Mandapam right in the center and little back to it is the sanctum, but all is in the premises. And there is also staircase by which you can go up. So not a classical of the temple, but it resembles many typical features which are not usually seen and which were pioneering. So in that way, those who want to study iconology and temple architecture, this is one of the important temple which they have to study. Look at this, all these different type of mandapas serving different type of purposes, maybe a local gathering, maybe people sitting for rituals, maybe some rituals, a yajna going on. So for that it was, Ardha Mandapam is usually used for yajna and all that thing. Here it is all open air mandapam. Then Sukhasan is also there where you can sit. It is also open air here, largely ventilated. Now here you will see there are 3 halls and all 3 are nicely decorated because this is a Trikuta temple. Now we come to Swarga Mandapam. This is a Kopeshwar temple, Khidrapur. Now if you see this is a central opening which you are seeing, and around that are the Dishapalas, and all the gods or deities are seen here with the vehicles. Now you can see up, this is the temple, this is the Swarga Mandapam, and another glory of this temple is, now you can see the entrance of the temple and you have seen the sanctum also. The rays, sun rays which starts from the gate fall straight on the Shivalingam. That only happens in May. We have 3 extensively covered videos on this temple, that is Kopeshwar temple, Khidrapur, Maharashtra. So they cross the entrance gate, then they cross Swarga Mandapam, then they cross Ardha Mandapam, and then they go straight to the sanctum where they fall on the Shivalingam. And this is the opening. There is an interesting part of this opening. Look at this. This is opening Swarga Mandapam. Why it is called Swarga Mandapam? Because of the deities around. They are with the vehicles. And another glory of this is a animation. At each Tripuri Purnima, you will find exactly exactly moon in this circle. So this happens at every Tripuri Purnima. There used to be large celebrations when just below this opening there is a small platform. So maybe used for dancing or some social programs. Imagine that the moon is shining, is giving light, falling right over the circle down, and on that there are some dancing performances going on. And exactly same shadow can be casted by sun also. Look at this circular stage on which this performing artist was showing different skills, and above was the moon. Then temple also had exterior designs. Exteriorly all the temples are extremely and richly decorated. Now we'll see some of the decorations. It will remind you of some panels, and carvings were made in such a way that they will help water to fall down. There will not be any stagnation of the water. Look at this, beautiful. Just admire. This is from Ballur. These corners. Now here we have shown you a design how the twin temples. This is from the Halebiddu, when the king and queen, they constructed Shiva's temple. Both temples are next to each other. Both had Nandi Mandapam also, and here one of the Nandi in this Nandi temple, in Nandi Mandapam, is one of the largest one. So the sanctum can be attached to the other, or 2 separate temples can be connected. This is the only example of 2 separate temples connected. That is a dual temple. Both patronage to king and queen. Hoysala king and Shantala Devi was the queen. Look at the beautiful carvings. This temple by many is considered as a superhuman, and they follow one specific pattern. Now this we are going slightly to the higher level. You can see sculptures of beautiful ladies. Here you will find a lot of epics of Mahabharata and Ramayanas. This is a typical story of 16 years. At 16 years, even a beautiful girl here is given a symbolization of a donkey. So even a donkey can look beautiful. That is what they want to say. Somewhere here, that was at Ballur, and this is from Aiholi. Now you can find some exotic carvings also, which are not many, but they form one of the part of this temple architecture. These are from the Haibiddu. Exotic carvings are less in number, but they are there. With that, we are coming to end of a part 2 of the temple architecture. Subsequently, there will be multiple parts 3, 4, 5, 6 which we will be covering. Till then, I am Dr. Anil Joshi, logging off, requesting you to take care, and see you again in next video shortly. Goodbye, good luck, and take care.